Hello, Nolan West here. So I was watching the news the other day and I saw a protester sign that said, "Capitalism is destroying the planet." And well, my first thought was, I don't know about that. I decided I should dig into the data. I mean, could the prosperity caused by capitalism be harmful in the long term? Because that's a legitimate question. But first, let's look at capitalism itself. We know capitalism is the greatest economic engine yet discovered by mankind. I'm looking at history, we can see capitalism has dismantled basically every opposing economic model. The Cold War is a great example. The USSR versus the United States, two superpowers with different economies. The Soviets had their command and control socialist economy, and the United States had free trade and capitalism. And the war wasn't fought with militaries, but it was fought economically. And we all know how that ended. The USSR crumbled in 1991, and the United States, still the most prosperous nation in the world today. And they didn't crumble from military defeat. They crumbled because their command and control socialist economy could not compete with capitalism, not even close. Despite their massive population, their abundant natural resources, and their massive military, they didn't stand a chance against the productive growth that capitalism unleashed. Now, is all that growth bad? Will nonstop growth eventually destroy the planet, and therefore we should move on from capitalism? Well, let's look at the track record of capitalism first. We can start by establishing the growth that capitalism has unleashed. I mean, you can see it here. Once capitalism was widely adopted by the major powers, it just exploded in massive growth for every nation, basically. And this growth with industrialization definitely created pollution, more pollution than was before. And you could say, hey, growth is bad because growth means pollution. But what did that growth get us? I mean, it wasn't just growth for the sake of growth. I mean, this explosive growth led to life expectancy shooting up, a child malnourishment drop. It eliminated many infectious diseases. Infant and maternal mortality went way down, and these all accelerated right along with that trend. And some might say, oh, well, you can't attribute those to capitalism. These might have happened without it. But if we look at history, we can see we had tiny incremental improvements in life expectancy and all those other categories before capitalism was widely adopted. And they grow right along with the explosive growth. I mean, capitalism has saved billions of lives, and it's extended the lives of billions more, including everyone alive today. And are all these life improvements meaningless if capitalism leads to the extinction of mankind? That's a valid question as well, but first I'd say it's not meaningless to the people who got a chance to live. And the Industrial Revolution set off a trend that created more pollution, more greenhouse gas emissions. But if you think about the context of the time, the average family was malnourished, starving, dying of dysentery. They don't really care if keeping their air clean and not having asthma if they're not going to live much longer. But that same family, as soon as their incomes hit a certain level, they start to care about the air. We've seen this in every single nation that's had its standard of living rise to a certain point. I mean, in America, we see a widespread adoption of electric cars. Companies have come out with ultra-efficient light bulbs, washing machines, dishwashers, water heaters, everything. The efficiency has gotten so good that in the United States, our greenhouse gas emissions are actually declining. And per capita, they're declining by a lot. Now, to answer the question, is capitalism destroying the planet? Well, not really. It's making strides in the right direction right now. In fact, it's probably the only thing that can save the planet. And some of the signs also said, oh, we need revolution. And it's like, no, we shouldn't throw away what's brought the greatest prosperity this world has ever seen by an insane margin. We should focus on using what we have and the tools we have that we know work to make our world a better place. We live in the most prosperous times by a million miles. And rather than looking at the problems and deciding to abandon what we've done, we should look at what we've done and build on that to solve our problems going forward.